Welcome back to the LCS Dome as we prep for FlyQuest versus TSM. Both teams had unexpected O2 weekends last week, and as a result, WildTurtle is coming back in.
And we wanted to look at FlyQuest in particular because this was a team that obviously were finalists in spring. You're thinking, okay, this should be a really strong contender in summer, but that last week was so uncharacteristic of them. And against Team Liquid, which is the first time they played in week 4, look at how the map ends up playing out. You actually have them getting a gold lead, but unable to close it out. And I think that we can just remember this game as being the one where the Ezreal shifts in, kind of dies at the Baron, it's a complete disaster, and suddenly you're just filled with heartbreak. And I think that this was the beginning of FlyQuest choosing to play around with their AD a little bit more by bringing Turtle back in.
Yeah, I mean, Turtle's always been the volatile player who's going to make those kinds of mistakes, but also make really big plays. But it was MASH making that mistake, and I think if you're not going to get that safety, it's less important.
This was one of the weirdest plays I've seen from Santorin this split. You are level 2, flashing into 2 level 2 with a level 1 Orianna coming in. There is just, it is ambitious to say the least. And even though that kill didn't stop PoE from actually bodying Ryoma, the dream was not enough to make a reality out of this win dash.
Ooh, mechanical misplays and individual missteps galore. I think that was in part the story from early on, but probably it didn't stop there. Even through the mid-game, FlyQuest plagued with inconsistency.
Yeah, they really can't find their footing like they had before. And going into summer, you know, like Crumb said, they were our second-place team, and they had a really strong identity. They were honestly kind of the boring team in spring. You know, they were slow, they were scaling, but they would always be winning these team fights. And eventually we got to the point where, like, well, no one can out-team fight them, so I guess they're just going to be winning these games. But coming into summer, the first 2 weeks, they were really scrappy, and now we got super excited because we're like, all right, this team can team fight, this team can like scrap early, like this is going to be a good contention for maybe second. But now they completely lost their team fighting identity. Like Crumbs was mentioning earlier, the Ezreal shifts in. They never lost team fights like this before. If they got to the mid game or they got to late game and they are even in gold, they would always win. But now they cannot get a hold of these team fights and they can't execute on them anymore.
And you know what else they cannot do? They cannot be playing Twisted Fate or Galio. It's one of the picks that has really been picking up steam in NA and being able to have a global presence. But FlyQuest just doesn't go for that. PoE has not shown that. And not even showing it is why I think it's valuable and a point of that you have to bring up, because it puts the threat of your opponents thinking, oh, they might play this, and it can buy you some space with a ban.
We love team identity. We love that FlyQuest formed that identity, but it seems to be slipping from them a little bit. So recapturing is going to be the focus for them. Let's talk about the TSM side of things, Mark. They took a loss to Immortals, so some inconsistency on their part as well.
Yeah, man, this kind of stuff was going on in the bot lane where people are just on different pages, recalling and walking up, getting caught out. And I think some of those synergy problems is why you saw them bring Treatz in to try and get more cohesion. And here, you know, everyone was playing bad in that loss. Bjergsen stepped way too far forward trying to get to Broken Blade. It opens them up to get collapsed on the Drake. It was one of these games where everyone was making mistakes, and the fact that Treatz came in shows that, you know, this is not a one-off. There's probably these kinds of problems where their bot lane's just way too far up in scrims as well.
This is, you just cannot justify this. And you look at the minimap, you see jungle and top are just making it out of base right now. It is entirely on the bottom, like what's going on down there. But at least TSM still has a buffer with their record.
No buffer. This is the biggest problem with TSM right now. Okay, maybe I lied. Not the biggest problem, but the problem I want to talk about is Broken Blade. In this comp especially, he's playing the Wukong with a Zilean in mid, and that means he has to be a big carry for the team because Zilean kind of takes a step back and kind of buffs you up to go in, but Broken Blade takes an import slot. They ran this comp with him before in spring where they would play set Zilean, and he's not able to perform. He got counterpick in the last 3 games, and he's been behind in lane doing this. So I really need to see this guy kind of like step back up into his role of being this top lane carry that we know can, like, you know, engage or even play weak side. But right now, like, TSM just as a complete unit is pretty messy.
Yeah, I mean, the one plus side is, you know, they did pick up a win yesterday. So there is at least some improvements. They took down 100 Thieves, who were looking a lot better. So they are trying to rectify some of those mistakes. It was not a super clean game, but I don't think that they're, you know, necessarily dead in the water. Make sure that we're not blowing this too far out of proportion. They do have some good things still going for them.
Yeah, sitting at 7-4 right now. You mentioned they picked up that win yesterday. And Crumbs, I'll give you the final word then on Treatz, because he was the sub who came in yesterday, and you've been closely tied to his academy performance.
Yeah, Treatz, I thought, looked quite good on the Leona. Being able to find kills in lane is actually a really positive sign, something that TSM has not been doing lately. And being able to be playing a lot of these initiation champions when you are a shot-calling player is a really good value add for your team. So looking forward to TSM's improvement. I think that the win goes a long ways in making that upward trajectory feel like it was justified from the switch.
Love that aggression in the bot lane out of him on the Leona. Love to see somebody next to Doublelift who might actually be able to get him generating some kills. We'll see if FlyQuest, though, can start their week with a much-needed win as we send it over to Freak and Azale for Game 3.
Thank you very much, Dash. And this is going to be a fun one here. FlyQuest and TSM, two strong teams. They had good runs in the Spring Split playoffs. We've got just like a very dense cluster of reasonably strong teams here in summer, especially with Cloud9 taking 2 losses. TSM's only 2 games behind first. This is very achievable for them with Treatz in the lineup. I like the squad a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be interested to see how Treatz can perform, over a larger sample size of games. They did get that 2v2 kill in his debut yesterday. That's obviously feeling really good. If they can pick up another win here, they are kind of keeping pace a little bit more with the top of the standings. As both Cloud9 and Liquid, will be within striking distance if they can grab a win here today. But FlyQuest on the other side, really has been struggling, to be honest. They haven't been able to string together, really any consistency throughout the kind of later half of their games here. It's kind of surprising because I feel like when we talk about FlyQuest, it was always their consistency that was praised most. Like that was what we looked at as this team's greatest strength, is that they were able to, play these kind of slower style of games, that they were so good at team fighting, that PowerOfEvil was so reliable, and as a result, they made it all the way to the finals, and they had been able to play at a high level, and maybe not, at that peak level of some of the other teams at their absolute best, but they were always a really, really solid squad. And they feel like they have lost some of that consistency, somewhat due to perhaps trying to adjust their playstyle to the current meta, trying to play more aggressively, and at times failing in doing so, allowing themselves to throw away leads or throw away games.
Well, of course, we have the lineups back up here as FlyQuest have put WildTurtle back in. They were 1-1 with him. They were 4-4 with Mash. Turtle is back here, playing his second Ashe game of the split. Did play it in Academy last week, so he's back on this one here. And TSM instantly grabs Senna for themselves. And more, when we see Senna, we're often seeing it as the farming bot laner, although we also have seen it as a support alongside champions like Wukong. Doublelift showed off a Syndra game earlier this split, so I wouldn't be super surprised anymore to see Doublelift play something non-marksman down there, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see him play Senna. And as we saw from Spring Split TL, it was rough.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't always work out for them there, but to be honest, this is a champion that he will have played a lot by now. I do think that, it's something that he can add to his repertoire. He always hasn't had the most success outside of marksman, but he has been able to pick up like every meta marksman ever throughout his career, right?
Yes.
Maybe Draven or something like that, but Draven has always been more fringe anyway, and kind of one of those unique picks. So I have confidence that he will be able to pick it up, and I'm interested really to see what kind of added layer they're going to bring here. Treatz did play Wukong once in Academy, so it could be that Senna Wukong bot lane that they're looking towards. It could be something with him farming. Even things like Senna TK have obviously worked a fair bit in the past, so you can play kind of more of those standard styles there too. But I always want to see, if you're going to have a farming Senna, some high forms of DPS elsewhere. And I do think that this is already shaping up to be a draft that I can get behind. Orianna, yes, people always think about the burst of the Shockwave, but Orianna is high DPS, especially later in the game. Olaf, obviously a champion that can build full damage and really add a lot, especially in those early and mid-game skirmishes. This is something that you can be supported with the Senna ultimate. Olaf flying in, Senna ult comes across, allowing you the extra tankiness and the added damage coming through, plus speed ups from Orianna. So it does feel like a pretty well-crafted first 3. But on the other side, FlyQuest draft, I think, looking quite good also. Volibear, we're expecting to go jungle. A very steady pick here. Can scrap with Olaf. Not necessarily in a really long, extended fight, but upfront damage trading is pretty good there. You have a strong laner in Ashe and a powerful mid laner here in the Syndra.
And of course, we mentioned it, the Wukong was a possibility for the TSM bot lane. That has been banned away on the FlyQuest side. I'm curious what else they want to do. I do, by the way, I want to give credit here to TSM. I like the idea of early Senna and then wait because we know Senna's playing somewhere in the bottom lane, but she plays 2 roles, and you can play Senna with a hard support, you can play Senna with a farmer. There's a lot of ways this lane can look. The other half of that bot lane is so open-ended. Wukong is only one of like 19 possibilities here, so FlyQuest, yes, can send a ban, but, well, there's still a top laner to be played on the TSM side. We don't know what that's going to be just yet. You can see them banning away Set and Thresh, trying to get rid of some supports for the Ashe down there. Tom Kench, you mentioned that one as well. 2 of the most common Senna pairings, but again, there is a lot that can be played. So TSM, I expect them to save top lane for last. I think they round out bot lane here, and then give Broken Blade a counter pick, so that, as you were mentioning, they have DPS in another role to let the support of Senna, you know, Senna, as she's always very supportive, can help that champion out.
Yeah, I was also going to say, I do think Ornn is fine here too. Ornn can actually go with Senna, and is also, you know, obviously very standard top lane. I do think that they were lacking a little bit in the engage. Right now, it was kind of just Olaf run at you, and that's your engage. So getting a bit of hard engage here from the top lane, I think, is fine. This can allow them to, you know, round out their bottom lane based on the picks here from FlyQuest. One of the problems that sometimes happens when you do go these Senna plus melee carry style bot lanes is that your opponents can then pick a specific 2v2 matchup that is really heavily favored. When you already have Ashe, who's a dominant laner, and then you pick something like a range support that is really advantageous against whatever TSM would go for, then you can really get in a hole in that bottom lane where your melee carry can't farm at all. So they want to play this, I think, a little bit more safe. I do think the Taric could be looked at as a pick away too. That is something that obviously Core JJ and Doublelift used to play a lot. But this is actually Pantheon support here, I do believe.
Yeah.
It's possible that they're going to flex something crazy, but this should be Pantheon support, which we've seen pop out a little bit more. People going press the attack. Obviously, you can proc that 3-hit combo very quickly for the bonus damage, then increasing the damage there of Ashe. It's a lot of CC and setup across the board here. I do think Santorin has options to go through all 3 lanes. Renekton with the stun, Pantheon with a stun, you have Syndra with Scatter the Weak. Like, you can pretty much go anywhere. So it is going to be Braum, more of the defensive option. If Pantheon looks to engage on your Senna, the Braum is there to try to block the follow-up from the Syndra, from the Ashe, as far as that damage coming through. TSM going to go with that more defensive option here.
Okay, well, TSM have a very, very large front line. It's Senna puts out a bit of damage. Bjergsen and Orianna can certainly do a ton out there. Mid lane you can absolutely rely on. And Spica has been hit and missed, but he's had some very good games, especially if we do see Warrior Olaf, which is the build I expect. I can see him really take over. On the FlyQuest side, though, WildTurtle is back in the lineup alongside IgNar. IgNar has been a very strong performer this year. He's got the Pantheon support. That's going to be fun. There's a lot of really good engage out of here, right? Pantheon globals in from across the map. If he lands a stun, the arrow is guaranteed. You can go the other way if you really need to, but this is going to be very exciting to watch for. The Renekton, of course, grabbed for Solo. I think top lane's going to be important this game. Solo got to see that Ornn was, I think, 95% the actual top laner there. Said, okay, give me Renekton, give me counterpick. I'm going to go brutalize this guy. Volibear jungle was the priority pick of this draft. So FlyQuest, I think, are poised to have a lot of really, really strong aggressive plays on every lane.
And I would say that in these style of games where the jungler has a lot of options, tracking the jungler becomes so important for TSM. Because oftentimes, you know, you have some lanes where it's like, okay, yeah, sure, you could go there, but you're not really expecting it. You know, people that don't have any gank assist, if you're playing like an Ezreal lane or whatever, oftentimes, you know, you're kind of going to be sitting back and not expecting the jungler to play there. Allows one of your lanes to play with a little bit more freedom. In this case, you don't really have that luxury on TSM. You have got to be scared of the jungler showing up in any single lane here. So it does mean that TSM is going to have to do a really, really good job of actually tracking Santorin throughout the entire game and making sure that they're well aware of where he could be so that the lanes on the other side of the map can play more aggressively and not just cede control across the board.
Yeah, so the vision can be, of course. Ooh, yeah, this could be kind of fun. Bjergsen gonna walk next to a brush. I believe they knew no one could have been there, but there is a ward on the other side of that wall. Q's to spot. Doesn't see anyone. And
Braum plus Olaf, though, is probably, you know, about as strong as you could possibly get, but Spica just jumped on immediately.
There is a fight right away. Spica's low force to flash. One hit will kill him. He's ignited and he goes down. They face check in, and Turtle returns to the LCS with a 400 gold lead at 1.5 minutes.
Oh, man. I think that the attempt there makes sense from TSM, but because they knew they got spotted, they swept out the ward. You're allowing your opponents to actually prepare for that. If you checked into Santorin, WildTurtle, and IgNar, who were already on the red buff, you win those. But because there's actually, you know, them getting spotted, they know they're spotted, and then as Bjergsen and Doublelift are actually hitting the ward, Spica is moving forward, and just absolutely gets burst down. Santorin very intelligently started Q there for the stun to be able to lock him up for his teammates, and TSM just was not coordinated on that invade. I think that once you're spotted, you either have to, you know, continue to move forward as a squad into the brush immediately, or you just have to say, oh, that sucks, it didn't work, time to go back to my blue buff. And they essentially did neither, because Spica kept going forward, the rest of the team kept backing off. They give over first blood and flash.
Yeah, Spica 1v3'd as the other 3 of TSM were literally attacking a ward, and that is rough stuff. Ward for a ward, as TSM goes, so, you know, maybe it's equal for them. In their minds, it's a ward for a ward. So, early lane pressure here doesn't surprise me at all. There's no way Senna really deserves lane pressure when she's the AD carry. You're just too busy knocking down minions, which takes a while for you. So, okay, there's the early push. They can go fight for the first deep ward. I love this. Push 2 waves, support runs and wards either blue buff or Gromp. This is very, very standard when you have the pushing bottom lane. And he's actually going even deeper there. You can see on the minimap, IgNar going very, very far for his ward. Actually spots it way farther back near the Gromp. Sorry, near where the Wolves movement is, because they want a blue buff steal, seeing that Olaf had to go a very late start
flash.
to red.
He can actually just be dead here.
He's just dead. Spica, this is worse than the Kayn game, and I don't even completely blame him. Like, half of the first death was the rest of TSM's fault, half of that is on him for going when they're hitting a ward. That one is just like, okay, they did call bot missing, but are you really not allowed to go for your own blue?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? And that's a situation that you have to evaluate, because, you know, I think that TSM and I think that Spica was expecting that was just an invade from IgNar to ward it out and harass, right? You know, you see someone missing, but you're not that concerned that it's going to be a full commit. But that's actually a 3 buff and 2 deaths on Spica this early on. And I talked about how when you're playing these Senna compositions, there is a lot of... Okay, yeah, he will have flash, but he should be okay. There's a lot of importance on the strength of your teammates, because you are not enough consistent damage as the Senna alone to really make it work, right? Like, you're not going to punch through the Volibear and the Renekton quickly by yourself. You need Olaf. You need the Orianna to be having good games. Bjergsen's down 10 CS, getting zoned out. Like, you know, your jungler is just screwed. He's basically half farm. You got 3 buffed, has died twice in 4 minutes. Like, that is really concerning, not just for the individual, but for the overall team composition and how it's going to function here.
Yeah, top lane lead, of course, for Solo here as well. Some of that is a wave yet to be farmed, but still feels like a lead. Doublelift now in a battle. This is good damage, but yeah, the shield comes up. IgNar able to very easily play around this Pantheon, feeling good against Braum and Broken Blade. Hello, that is Santorin. That is a stun out of fog. You're ahead. Oh, gosh. Yep. Even as his credit goes to Solo, he's like, cool, recall in front of the wave. See you, bud.
This is actually a game. If it's a scrim, you FF the game and you go next. Like, this is a 2,000 gold lead at 5 minutes with a composition that is focused more on early and mid game, I would say, on TSM side. I don't believe that they have enough tools to make Olaf that like 1v9 carry. So I don't think, you know, you can make this look like the kind of Yuumi style games where Olaf just takes over later. There are obviously lots of opportunities still for TSM to come back, but they are at an incredible disadvantage early on. One of the few kind of saving graces here is the laning's going pretty well down on the bottom side in that 2v2. They will be able to grab this dragon, so those are a couple things working for them. But very concerning start for TSM.
Okay, TSM, you've got to work back an almost 2,000 gold deficit with a Mountain Drake to your name and an Infernal Drake spawning in about 5 minutes. We'll see if it's possible. As you mentioned, yes, there is a lead for Double from the bottom lane. Some of that is the fact that Turtle took a couple of recalls off of the kills he got, and that means he had to kind of bleed some farm. But it is Senna with a small farm lead. Obviously not a gold lead. First Blood is going to make sure that's not really the case, but top lane fighting back and forth. Stun, I believe, got immune as he was still in the middle of Bellows Breath. But Solo was 6 first. Broken Blade comfortable enough to keep battling back for the wave.
Yep, Broken Blade wants to try to, you know, just push this out, look to reset this. Spica is up there, and he just hit 6 now, so if Solo gets too aggressive, there is an opportunity to maybe get something done, but it does seem like there's some kind of pings around that area, so they're not really confident to do it. Even a back ping coming through from TSM, as PowerOfEvil did step into fog. Volibear could be up there and is. It's going to be spotted now, though, so we'll see if there is any sort of a collapse or if it's just going to be a little smite fight, perhaps.
Minions getting chunked back and forth. Decent little poke by PoE. Syndra, classically considered a strong counter to the Orianna overall. So, yeah, he's going to feel comfortable in this matchup. Going to retain his roughly 10 CS difference as Bjergsen clears out the wave. And we'll see as PowerOfEvil just every single time, by the way, right? You clear out the wave, go run in a fog, go make a top laner pretend you might be invading towards him, go make the bot laner afraid of the fact you might come down the river. This is okay. New wave to fight for. Let's go do that some more. Cole stacking up for Doublelift very slowly. And upgraded boots, always very, very good on Ashe for WildTurtle.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty nice having the added attack speed there. And they're looking to set up a dive. And there's no TP on anyone except Broken Blade, so there's no way to actually respond to this. So as sad as it is, Broken Blade probably just dead already and probably knows it. Syndra's going to be coming in, and we'll see how they start this up.
Ults a lot of the wave, Solo ults in, a lot of damage. They turn off the turret. There is no possible way you survive. It was effortless, and the gold comes over. A second assist for PowerOfEvil. Now IgNar wants it. Bjergsen is out of mana. Easy autos come in, couple of slows there. Really good chunks. Bjergsen forced to go away, and Turtle says, hey, remember me? We used to be teammates, and I got you killed yet again. Now Spica's got to run back out of his turret, back down, and wow, that's IgNar going in. You got to be kidding me. TSM are in shambles.
I mean, Spica is paper. He didn't have anything except a jungle item and boots at that point. He just bought a ruby crystal now. But, you know, as Olaf, you're just so squishy at that point. We're going to see this one more time. Bjergsen just out of mana. They know he didn't have flash, so Turtle just pushing up here. You can use that empowered shield, getting some damage down. Turtle heals for the move speed, flashes in, finishes him up. And then Spica, this is just too brave. I mean, if you hit the axe, maybe he's thinking I could just flash in and finish off Turtle, but the axe gets sidestepped, and then you're stunned up and just burst down very, very easily. It's honestly so hard to see TSM having any chance of a comeback in this game. It's 8 minutes in. You're down 4,000 gold. The Olaf is going to be like falling off before he's ever online. Like he's never going to have a strong point in this game.
No,
I don't even know if he's going for Warrior anymore. Like, is this going to be like a late game Syndra Hulk? You know, this is terrible.
Yep. Okay, but here comes the first big play for TSM. Good damage here towards IgNar. Now it's Turtle who has absolutely nowhere to go. He's ultiless. He's summonerless. No perfect game. TSM will get on the board, and the kill goes over to Spica with a nice shutdown because the kills that he got. So TSM, signs of life, but this road is uphill and it's very steep.
Yeah, this is Mount Everest pretty much, but you have no supplies, so it's looking pretty rough. We'll see if they can bounce back. Interesting that they decided to give that gold over to Spica instead of Doublelift, you know, feeling like, hey, we really need to get our Olaf back in the game somehow. So he does get that shutdown donated over, and it's a nice play from TSM, knowing that their summoners were gone, you know, from that bot laner after he did kill off Bjergsen mid. So we'll see if TSM can chip away, if they can continue to actually whittle down this lead. You know, in the past I would have said no because FlyQuest had been so consistent, but they have not been as good at closing out games this split. They have been more prone to errors, and TSM is going to hope that they are going to make some of those this game.
We're going to hope so, because they've got a lot of errors to make up for right now, as Solo is up 2 levels on the top lane matchup. The wave dying out of XP range here for Broken Blade. I'm sure he's close to 8, but temporarily down 2 levels. Mid lane pushed in now as well. 1 plate dropped in the mid lane. Bjergsen eventually coming back to grab this one. PoE level 9 with the blue buff, just stacking up spheres in case there's a fight to be had. Bjergsen can wave through that. Too much difficulty, distance comes down, no problem there. And Solo again walks in, looks for the stun, gets this one, Conqueror stacked, chunks down some minions, feels pretty good about it.
Yep, good trading back here by Broken Blade, but the problem is Solo has lifesteal, right? And he has, you know, healing off the Q, so he's going to be healing back up, and as you get whittled down like that, you're always terrified of the potential dive. Obviously, Broken Blade does know that Doublelift and Treatz are already up here. FlyQuest is already making a move to take down this dragon, and the Herald is not there to grab, so you know, there's not really much of anything for TSM to get up on that top side, and it does mean it's going to be first turret down here on the bottom side. I wouldn't mind Santorin, you know, just dropping it for the guaranteed turret, and you could even potentially push 4-2 since the bot lane's up there, but they're looking to hold it for a dive on Bjergsen and then try to take that turret away, and I think they just have this mid lane turret, so they actually potentially could get 2 here. And this is terrible for Orianna to lose it this early.
Turret's at half. Ornn ult comes in. Big CC. IgNar forced a flash away. Herald will at least give some gold over. Santorin didn't need to walk up. He's going to get that gold no matter what. But hey, that turret's down to about 600 HP left. And once the extra bonus resists fall off, it'll be very easy for the kill for PowerOfEvil and crew. Bjergsen waiting around. Doublelift has been lane swapped to the top side. They have taken a plate over there. At least he's still getting his gold income going. Manamune stacking up.
Yeah, I mean, it's something, but you kill the turret so slow as Senna. The bot lane turret has 2 plates. The mid lane turret has 1 plate. You know, most of your members are up on that top side, so it's tough for TSM. You don't know where FlyQuest is going to look to attack, but they could try to pressure on either side and take down those turrets. Only one plate now remaining on 2 of those, so it should be a pretty easy first turret for FlyQuest, really, wherever they decide to go. I mean, this is like 5,000 gold lead. They're just diving Broken Blade again.
3v1 looking for the stun. Broken Blade again. The turret turns off. Santorin makes that dive absolutely effortless again. And it's 7-1 in kills. This turret is absolutely going to die. No one is here to defend it. Give the gold on over. FlyQuest continue to play very strong, high-tempo League of Legends with the gold lead. Santorin just ults a turret, and they get the dive every time.
Yeah, this is hard to watch, honestly. For Broken Blade, he is just getting absolutely slammed. The rough part is there's not really much he could do about any of these dives that are actually coming through besides maybe anticipating it earlier and just leaving. There's no way really for him to survive. His teammates have not been in a position to ever really defend him on any of the dives. They don't have TP on their mid laner to actually try to get up there and help him in a lot of situations. Spica was put so far behind, so Santorin can just go wherever he wants. He doesn't have to be worried about the Olaf, but Broken Blade already dove 3 times now and just put so far behind, right? He's 40 CS down on the Renekton. He's 2 levels down on the Renekton. WildTurtle is the same level, and the IgNar is catching up. So this is a brutal game. Like your front line isn't even going to be tanky on TSM, and you have no damage behind it.
Does IgNar win the 1v1 against Broken Blade? I mean, maybe not because lethality against someone who's actually buying armor, but like it's actually close.
I don't think so. I think that's too far. Ornn is still so good in melee champions. Like, you can't get actually bursted down by IgNar. Like maybe there's some world where he whittles him down slowly, but it's pretty hard to actually fight into Bellows Breath and the damage proc there.
Well, you saw some little resource juggling. They made sure Doublelift got the ward kill. Spica, though, was grabbing the red buff. They made sure that he got that gold and XP onto himself. They still want to keep him, up to date and relevant, if at all possible. 7,000 gold difference. I'm sure someone can tell me the stat check. This feels like the largest gold lead in the LCS this split by far at this point in the game. Like I don't think we've got a game this lost at it before.
Maybe the perfect game against CLG at the start of the split. Maybe that was as one-sided, but I'm not even sure it was. This one feels like just about the most one-sided game we've seen so far in the LCS this split. And it's pretty surprising to see how quickly the wheels just fell off. Off of that TSM invade, and then Spica just dying again. FlyQuest got full control of the map and just did everything right with it.
I need to interject because I did not set this up, but thankful reminder, thank you, Tom, for the stats update. Turtle is 1 kill away from 1,500 regular season kills. He might have it here, or he might be shut down as TSM comes in. 14.99 for Turtle. As Treatz comes in, they find the stun on his support, and that's not going to make it work very well. IgNar is going to drop, so not just yet. IgNar's first death of the game. TSM again find an individual kill, but every time they get it, they've had 3 more deaths leading into that moment in time. Kiwi grabs a blue buff. Top lane is under a little bit of fire, but it's going to be wave cleared away. Herald Summon doesn't mean too much, but maybe it goes down to Santorin. We'll see what comes through as the gold lead remains 7,000.
Yep, still nice to grab your Santorin because you know that TSM is not in any position to actually contest anything. So, I mean, just look at where Syndra is, right? How often in the game is Syndra auto-attacking the tier 2 mid at 15 minutes, right? This is just not where you expect him to be and not where you expect him to feel safe to be at this point. It is 1 dragon apiece, so FlyQuest still pretty far away from Soul. That's something working in the favor of TSM, but it's really hard to see what TSM can do. They're going to need picks, but they don't really have that strong of an engage, so it almost has to be a face check, which means you have to fight for vision, but you lose all the fights for vision, so good luck, I guess, is what I can say for TSM.
Yep. Well, they're going to look to fight for Drake number 3. Both teams have 1. TSM have the Mountain, FlyQuest have the Infernal, and now Ocean Drake is alive, and TSM wanted to play around it. A nice bit of damage on a PowerOfEvil, rooted him in place, but there's no follow-through just yet. Spica has rejoined the squad. It is 5-on-5, and it looks like Solo wants to go for a flank play. 4,500 health left on this Drake. Solo unknown, but Bjergsen going to spot out the brush. Nice ball comes down. This might be a play. Stun's going to come out. Here comes the dive in for Santorin. IgNar over the top as well. This should be a very easy fight for FlyQuest, but a good stun for Broken Blade means they shut down the jungler. Broken Blade getting out of range here as well. Great fight. Shotgun knock into Solo, and TSM try to win this fight. Down 7,000 gold. Solo is going to be taken. You got to be kidding me, TSM. How do you win these fights? But they've done it. The incredible plays out of them. Maybe you can say FlyQuest misplay it, but TSM win a 5v5 while down 7K, and Drake number 2 should be theirs.
That is insane. And it's not just 7K, it's 7K at 15 minutes. That's like so much of your total. Oh, the steal! Heartbreak for TSM.
You still take those, but man, that sucks.
Oh, that sucks so much. And Spica has Smite. You hate to see it. I mean, maybe that combo did more than his Smite could have, to be fair. You know, this is level 11 Syndra, and he's a very underleveled, weak Olaf.
Level 9,
but,
same as Santorin. It's not that bad.
I mean, that is rough. But let's watch this one more time. And I think largely this kind of hinged on the failed flank by Solo. He actually committed very heavily to going on Bjergsen. He slices and then flashes, so he has no dice reset. But Bjergsen has cleanse and ghost. You can't actually chase him down. Solo is one of the strongest members on FlyQuest's team, and he did nothing at all. Plus, Doublelift over the wall was getting completely ignored. Look at Doublelift here. You know, he was getting a lot of damage out on PowerOfEvil and on the FlyQuest members as they actually went over. So, you know, I would have liked to just see Solo try to go past the Orianna, but perhaps he didn't account for the summoners that were actually active on Bjergsen at that point in time. He might not have actually hit tab and checked. We'll watch this combo one more time. It is down at, I see 750.
Yeah, WQE all landed at the same time.
Yeah, so that actually didn't look like Spica did much wrong there. I think in that case,
I will say, this
Treatz
feels
maybe
like
could have blocked it.
That's true. Okay, so Treatz could have walked up. So this feels like what happened at level 1 as well. Like, yes, Spica is the one who's going to look bad if you look at the scoreboard straight up. But any pro team in the world can just pull that Drake out of the pit. Just walk it back 300 units, and it's only in range of Syndra E, which is like 212 damage. Like, these are fairly basic things that Platinum players will do in solo queue because they've seen it in the LCS before. Like, these aren't hard things to get right, TSM. No. And one Drake is not going to end the game for you, but it's a mistake you don't want to see.
Yeah, especially when you're already really far behind. And I just think it's one of those things that it's mental errors, right? It's you're trying to focus on what's next. You're talking about all these different things, likely in comms. Like, okay, we actually want to fight. Okay, what can we do next? Like, where do we go? How do we win this game? What do we do? You know, and you're just thinking of all these things besides the basics. And unfortunately for them, they didn't actually, check some of the boxes there. I agree, they could have pulled it out. I also think that Braum could have just stood against the wall and put up the shield, and then there's no way to steal that. But unfortunately, neither of those things did happen.
Yep.
So TSM do lose that dragon, and I mean, it's likely, like you said, it's not going to decide the game, probably, but losing that when you're behind actually matters a lot, because especially since it's Ocean Soul, you will have to fight for Soul, for sure, right? And now you're guaranteeing that you have to fight earlier, which is why that's so concerning, because there's less time to make up the gold. There's less time to farm up and try to get to these relevant points in the game for someone like Bjergsen, who is behind, for a lot of these members. And now they're going to be forced to go up against FlyQuest early.
Now Spica still being given plenty of golden XP here on the squad, up to 10 here, actually out-leveling Santorin. He's caught up farm-wise. Now I still feel like Volibear outscales, and Olaf, don't get me wrong, one front line is better than the other. Santorin actually has crowd control. Spica is just a meatball, to quote Captain Flowers here. But at the very least, he's at least keeping up here. Farm still going through. Solid CS, a lot of members. 50 CSD in the top lane is going to be really rough. That's a counter pick in tower dives for you right there. Mid lane's at least close. Bot lane's at least close. Yes, TSM's down 6,000 gold, but there's, we saw the last team fight went okay with 7K difference. This one maybe is winnable with 6K difference.
Yeah, it's always possible. It is always possible, but it's hard to say, right? Because Solo is one of the strongest members on the team, and if Solo has a good fight can look like Doublelift dies instantly, right? Just to Solo. In that fight, he literally did nothing. Like, he forced summoners out of Bjergsen, but didn't even connect on really anyone. So that alone can change it so much. And TSM will have a long path to walk here. But I do agree, it is good to see Spica catching up somewhat. Yes, he is not where he would want to be, but he got the shutdown, he got a couple assists and another kill. That is going to put him at least at a point where he is somewhat relevant, where he can't just be completely ignored. I do think that, given the fact that they had the Braum Olaf early game, they were hoping to kind of invade and have him a couple levels ahead and a lot of CS up on the Volibear. Even you'll take, given how it started, but it's still probably not where they want to be.
Well, TSM trying to be in a spot where they can be winning this game. They would love to end the week 8-4, only a game and a half behind first place, where Cloud9 and Team Liquid currently sit. They'll, of course, play later on in the week for their final game. Right now, Santorin looking to play for Vision. Next Ocean Drake is spawning in 15 seconds. These teams are basically playing a wave clear between Drake spawns, and every 5 minutes they meet up again for another team fight. It's like a family reunion, which makes sense based on the members of these teams. And now, TSM are on the outside. It's the Drake spawning in 2. Vision control belongs to FlyQuest. TSM hoping to do their best with a 6,000 gold deficit. IgNar's Pantheon support, fairly squishy as a champion. Going to be hard to get Conqueror off, and Turtle now hitting the Ocean Drake as FlyQuest try to zone out the squad. IgNar puts in the poke. 2,300 health left on the Drake, and no one's going to be in range in time. Drake number 3 claimed by FlyQuest. Stun's going to land, but Braum very, very tanky. They can still go for this one. A lot of damage on a Treatz. Ult comes off for Senna. It's a 4-man knockup for the top laner, but it's still not going to be enough to make a kill happen. Treatz going to walk away alive. A double stun comes out for PowerOfEvil. Mid lane pressure there for a couple of seconds. Spellbook heal used by Bjergsen. And this turret loses about 15% of its health. Still zoning back and forth in the mid lane. And it's good healing coming out of Doublelift. Treatz is getting a lot of his health bar back. Ultimately, not much more to
but
do.
they're split now.
Grab.
They've got to be careful because Doublelift actually got zoned off by PowerOfEvil. So they have to be careful about a potential engage from FlyQuest. TSM now, as a result, is actually pushed away from their mid lane. If you try to funnel through that choke, you are going to be in trouble. So they're not able to do it, and we'll have to give up that mid lane turret. It does end up being, despite the fact that TSM survived, which is good to them. I mean, it's still another dragon. FlyQuest is now at soul point and grabs your mid lane tier 2. So they're going to be really happy with how things worked out. I do think it was critical that Treatz actually got up the shield there right in the nick of time before that Ashe arrow did land, allowing him to barely survive and giving TSM a small potential window to kind of turn it around, because FlyQuest really committed a lot of damage onto that Braum to try to knock him down.
And you can see the elements of why this TSM comp could work or should work. Like, they sustain back up really, really well, and they're pretty good at kiting here, right? They've got a solid front line. The healing comes through, and it feels like you can kind of weather down the FlyQuest side. Obviously, again, with the goalie, that makes it very, very difficult, but you can see the elements that were there. That said, as we're mentioning, yes, we have Ocean Soul coming in soon, and sadly for TSM, they are not very bursty. They're a pretty grindy team composition. Doublelift gets his executions calling in time, so it's there if Ocean Soul does go over. Bjergsen going for a grindier build, right? It's the much more common Seraph's Embrace into Liandry's second. We're not doing the the Death Cap, Oblivion Orb, Spellbinder burst. It's we're gonna play a 20-second long team fight, and you're just gonna take 25% of your max health and damage over the course of time. PowerOfEvil wants a play towards Bjergsen, equal level on these players. Will it be a stun? That's a little slow. Gets a lot of Qs to land. But with that Seraph's shield, he is fine.
Yep, Seraph's self-shield from the E, has the Merc Treads also, so plenty of defense to stay alive there. And yeah, I mean, the reason Bjergsen, I think, is going for this build instead of a Deathcap second is the fact that he doesn't have any easy access to the backline, right? He doesn't have a Recon or someone to actually throw that ball on and try to one-shot Turtle or PowerOfEvil. He knows he's going to be hitting Renekton and Volibear. And Liandry's is great at doing that, so I do think it is an intelligent buy. But as you say, Ocean Soul going to be difficult, but PowerOfEvil has no ulti. He does have Flash. We'll see if they can get him out of here. Ooh, FlyQuest want to fight.
Dive in this one. This is going to be a 5v4. They're going to be late on the Ornn. The whole squad is here. Stun's not going to land, but the re-engage could be enough. It's going to be nice damage and a slow on a Spica. And now Broken Blade is here. It's a full-on 5-on-5. You have to believe FlyQuest would like to take this fight. Triple stun lands. Broken Blade wants back in. Cannot find a single member, though, as the heals come back through. TSM healthy. Still holding on a Shockwave. They still have 2 of the big teamfight ultis here. And FlyQuest, they're not actually able to really get in. Their engage tools are a bit limited. Pantheon, Volibear, Renekton, Syndra. If it's not Ashe Arrow, the engage is kind of mediocre. And the fact that FlyQuest actually can't hard force a 6,000 gold lead is a little surprising. Again, they're still retaining the lead. We know Ocean Soul is soon, but I'm just a little surprised they're not getting kills if they want them.
Yeah, I mean, it is the engage options, right? That is the key, as you're saying. They are a little bit lacking in that regard, but where they are really strong is when they can control space, when you have to actually fight forward into them. And that's why the neutral objectives are going to be so key. That's why the Soul and Dragon earlier matters so much, because if Soul was not 1 minute away and was instead 6, 7, 8 minutes away, depending on how long it takes them to actually kill the dragons after spawn, that's a lot more time for TSM to actually build up and maybe have a chance here. But if you give over Soul, they're going to go to Baron, and they're going to continuously start up Baron and force you to come to them, because with Soul, you're never going to lose health. You can just keep trying that Baron over and over and over, and TSM is going to be forced into a situation where you're not necessarily going to be able to kite back and play these extended fights against FlyQuest.
Bjergsen knows he's safe enough to kill a Gromp, and yeah, I mean, Ocean Soul, it's in 44 seconds. It feels like we're just fast-forwarding 5 minutes at a time. There's haven't been kills, I want to say, in 12 minutes or so. Like, it's been so long. I called out at, like, 12 minutes into the game, like, hey, Turtle's at 1499, 1 more kill, and it's 1500 for him. Doublelift, by the way, is first place, to get to 1500. WildTurtle second, so 1 and 2 are in here, and, neither have gotten kills in a very long time. Ocean Soul spawning in 20 seconds. FlyQuest, the gold lead's actually up to 8,000. They're actually growing the lead off the turret kills they're getting, just not off champions, as Mid lane pokes back and forth. Drake spawns in 10, and FlyQuest own the bottom river.
Yeah, I mean, TSM, this is where you're seeing how difficult it is when they're not kiting back, right? You're checking forward into PowerOfEvil and into these Ashe volleys constantly. Bjergsen looking to try to get Santorin low here, but he is tanky. TSM just are struggling to actually get purchase around this pit. They are moving in now, but they're split. Doublelift and Broken Blade aren't with the team and are spotted, so you got to be careful. So Bjergsen is trying to use the Orianna ball to create an area that his teammates can walk through.
And the fact that TSM got River at an 8,000 gold deficit is impressive in and of itself. So now the fight for the Ocean Soul. Level 11 on both junglers.
50-50.
BOE zoned back by Bjergsen. TSM on an 8,000 gold deficit, able to fight over the Drake. The smite comes in, it's grabbed by Santorin, and Treatz instantly dies. They fought so hard, and TSM, they're not going to get much farther. Ocean Soul on 5v4, and again, FlyQuest not really hard engaging. Once again falling back, and that is now 2 smite steals that have broken TSM's back. It could easily be 3-2 in Drake's instead of 4-1. And so FlyQuest, they run to the top river, and it's time to look at Baron.
Yeah, it's really intelligent, actually, that they didn't over-chase there. You already got 1 kill. You got Soul. We've seen how they struggle to hard engage. So again, why risk it? You have Ocean Soul. You're going to be fully loaded on health and mana. So they go over to the Baron. They say, all right, come to us again. We want to fight. They're going to start this up, and TSM won't even be able to get there in time. So this is pretty much lights out at this point. You're 10,000 gold ahead. You have Soul. You have Baron. And FlyQuest really has everything they need to be able to close out this game. You know, TSM, I think, has played admirably from the enormous deficit that they were at, but this game is just going to be so hard to really threaten that front line.
Well, TSM get a turret on the board. We saw a long time ago they got a Drake on the board, a kill way back when. They've been able to kite back and stay alive, but the problem is neutral objectives do not kite back with TSM, so every time FlyQuest pushes them backwards, and they're able to grab something afterwards. So Baron buff is on. This siege should now work, and this is probably the time where we see FlyQuest actually able to play more aggressively, and TSM cannot just sit back and wait. Their base will eventually fall. We're seeing
And
FlyQuest. Go ahead.
What I want to see FlyQuest actually do is push 2 lanes, because really the only good wave clear on TSM is Orianna. Senna cannot clear Baron minions up, so you want to at least push 2 lanes, make the Orianna unable to answer on both sides. They're actually going to Baron buff up all 3 lanes here, so no one's even trying to answer top lane. That's a turret already gone. Mid lane will still be escorted in. You can see 2 FlyQuest members pushing in bot as well. And once you get these waves in multiple lanes up to these turrets, Bjergsen is going to have to pick and choose where he goes. Everywhere else is going to be easily assaulted by FlyQuest. This is 2 uncontested tier 2s. The gold lead is just going to explode from here.
Okay, turret number 6 falls, and the gold lead is now 11,000. This is still one of the closer 11,000 gold leads I have seen in this game. And, I mean, off of the catastrophic start, I still want to give some kudos to TSM. Yes, it was their own making for why they got behind. FlyQuest did a really good job to further that gold lead, but they're at least fighting. They are not rolling over. They've got opportunities. IgNar could be a target here. Slowed down by Treatz, slowed down by Spica. Bjergsen the target. Shockwave's not going to land. A WildTurtle ran fast enough to get away. But Bjergsen now is going to have a hard time team fighting as the turret takes a bit more damage, and Turtle's still fully healthy. Doublelift zoned off the mid lane turret means inhib open in the mid lane as Solo still pushed in the bot side. The 3-lane push is finding the openings. The TSM comp works when grouped. The 1v1s are a lot harder. Second inhib turret to fall now as the minions do the rest, and Turtle kites away safely yet again.
And remember, all these little trades, anytime you're trading health, it's going to be in the favor of that team with the Ocean Soul. They can always heal it back up as long as they're getting any damage down. Top inhib still alive, but is exposed. Mid inhib is gone. Bot inhibitor turret is down to about 10% health there. TSM just doesn't have the wave clear. As long as FlyQuest don't allow them to engage and continue pushing all 3 lanes, only the Orianna lane has any chance of actually holding on here. So it's likely just going to be triple inhib.
Yeah, and TSM obviously not great engage tools themselves. I mean, they have the Ornn, but there's no good way in because FlyQuest are so far ahead. So yes, they could press R, but it wouldn't do anything. So they do have to bleed their base. I wonder if they maybe should have tried anyway. Triple inhib coming very, very soon. Baron buff times out. Solo is the target finally, but he's got Guardian Angel, so they only get an item cooldown off of him. The re-engage comes in. They miss literally every possible skill shot. Solo just flashes without CC on him, and the 3rd inhib falls. TSM tried after the turrets were already gone. Maybe a bit too late. Time to defend now with double Nexus turrets. As the recall comes through for Solo, he'll PV back into full health, and we'll try for round number 2. Big stun on the backside. Doublelift Forced to run back to the fountain, presses W, goes for a couple of auto attacks, grabs a couple of souls. Needs the help though as the turrets are falling. One of them about to drop. Stun's going to land on the front line. Treatz is safe for this one. Once again to the front line, solo fights with Broken Blade, but they might find a stun before too terribly long. Going to let that Braum passive time out and again go for the turrets. Waves are gone for now. Still waiting for Turtle to get killed number 4 in this game for 1500. Going to try for it here against his old team he spent so long on. As this turret is 2 autos from dead, but not just yet. It's not time. Shockwave is back up. Bjergsen could make the miracle play. Turret falls on the bottom side. 1 turret left, and TSM must at some point make their stand. Ultis or not, they've got to find the opening. The turret's getting low. TSM finally move forward to look for that play, and they can't get it just yet. All turrets are gone. The gold lead 12,000. Ocean Drake still on, looking for the re-engage. A lot of damage on Broken Blade. Senna ult over the top. Can't find the kill just yet. Still no Shockwave. Spica is now the target, running away for his life. Shockwave on a 3, not going to get any kills. The Nexus in their eyes, and FlyQuest will take down TSM.
Nicely played game there from FlyQuest.
Yeah.
Capitalizing on every little mistake that TSM made in the early game. They snowballed this one out really, really well. It could have been a much quicker game had TSM not been as resilient. I think they did a good job hanging on too, but given that early disadvantage that Spica was put at, they responded admirably to the invade, catching out and killing Spica. They then furthered that snowball by killing him at his blue buff with the 3-man invade. Their roams to the top side absolutely buried Broken Blade, made him completely ineffective in the 1v1, and I think FlyQuest deserves a lot of credit for this win. It was a really clean one start to finish.
Really, really good job by FlyQuest. I know we gave TSM credit for holding on, but the openings were of their own making. A badly coordinated level 1, mistakes around Drake several times, either just not pulling it out or a simple missed smite where Santorin did it better. This game could have looked different when you don't have a situation where it's Ocean Soul with Baron into Siege. It's another 5 minutes of waiting. It's another 10 minutes of waiting because both the Drakes went over. Finally, that 8,000 gold difference doesn't matter anymore. Those unforced errors go away. This game looks different, right? TSM maybe comes away with it, but mistakes of their own making. Again, to your credit, to your point, FlyQuest, but they found those openings. They had the coordination. The dives from Santorin in the early game were awesome. They counterpicked topside. We see your Ornn. Here comes Renekton. Level 6 tower dive. Level 6 tower dive. Level 6 tower dive. Cool. I'm up 3-0. This is a very easy lane for me, and that part worked out. A greedier team also than FlyQuest would have maybe overdove and found themselves in front of shockwaves and found too much poke. We saw TSM were able to win fights from behind. This comp could have worked. A worse team than FlyQuest would have stumbled into those kind of engages. So yes, well played by FlyQuest to keep a lot of control, saying, look, your engaging tools are limited. If we play around Ornn, we're always going to be safe. Let's just make sure we take the objectives, and they did that very well.
Yeah, it's definitely a frustrating one for TSM, though. It's one of those situations where you're going to look back at this game and you're going to feel like the game was lost in the first 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And, that they held on from the disadvantage, I think you're going to feel, maybe a little bit happy about that. But, they let this game get out of hand so quick with the 2 quick Olaf deaths, the fact that he's then forced into a tank build here instead of, being able to go more aggressive to kind of augment the low damage that their composition has, that leading into loss of control, leading into dives, all these things. That's going to be one where you watch back and you almost just want to turn it off after 5 minutes and say, all right, well, we screwed up and that was the game. And those are frustrating ones to lose for sure.
Definitely the case. Well, WildTurtle is 1 kill short of 1,500 all-time in the LCS, and after the break, we're going to hear from him in the Verizon post-game interview, so don't go anywhere.
Welcome back for the Verizon post-game interview. My name is Pastry Time, and joining me is the AD of FlyQuest. It is WildTurtle. How you been, man?
What's up? Been good, been good.
I feel like
That's
we
about
haven't
it.
seen you in the LCS for a bit. What's it like to kind of be back on the LCS team, at least for this game?
Feels pretty good. I mean, just always playing LCS is, better than playing Academy, but I definitely was like slumping a little bit and had to get back in form, so I definitely understand why I was like moved down to Academy, so.
Makes sense, but you had a pretty fun game to come back from. A pretty clean one against TSM, although it did feel like it stalled out in the middle. How do you feel like you and the team played this game?
We played really well in our early game. I think in practice, our mid game hasn't been that crisp. That's why our mid game was like a little bit slower. I think we could have snowballed a lot faster and ended the game really fast. But you know how it is. We take those wins.
Yeah, and it does feel like, there has been a shift in champion pools as well. Varus got nerfed this patch. It feels like Ashe is on top. What do you think of your matchup, actually? Because we've seen Farming Senna a few times, but I feel like I haven't seen, at least in NA, like what this pick is supposed to be doing.
I think just Ashe is just like better scaling champion. So like even if I'm going even in this matchup, I feel like I just have more tools to like carry the game. I have the arrow. I do a lot more damage, and I'm not really too big of a fan of Senna, but maybe I'll play it anyway. Who knows? Maybe it's just OP and I don't see it yet.
Yeah, maybe. Certainly something I think maybe teams will start experimenting with. This game also had something else that was kind of cool. You being back in the LCS actually triggered our stats team to go back and look through all the records, and turns out you were 4 kills away from 1,500 regular season kills. You'll be the second player ever to do that, and the only other player, or the player currently in first, is Doublelift. You could have potentially gotten them, but you were one short, Turtle. What happened? How could you not get one more kill that game?
If only I knew the stat before the game, I would have died first. So. Unfortunately, I didn't know, so that's your guys' fault, actually.
Okay, well, you are now 1 kill away, so keep that in mind when you're playing your next LCS game. You could be the second player to reach 1,500 kills pretty quickly. Talking a little bit about the team, though, it does feel like FlyQuest have struggled a little bit with consistency this split, especially relative to Spring, where it felt like the team was hyper consistent. Do you have any idea kind of why that's been happening? Is the meta different? Is the team different? What's happening behind the scenes of FlyQuest?
I think we're not being able to mesh very well into the summer. I think we have different ideas on how we play the game, and I think just coming together on the same page has been pretty hard for us as a team. And I think once we get our mid game down and trust down, I think we can be a lot better and hopefully be a playoff contender again.
Well, certainly feels like games like this are on the right track. Turtle, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Peace.
All right, well, we've got one more game before we close out today. It's Golden Guardians vs. Immortals coming up right after this.
I'm Randy Diaz, mayor of Seltzer, Pennsylvania. If you love Bud Light like me, you'll love Bud Light Seltzer. It's a hard seltzer from Bud Light. It comes in 4 flavors and tastes great. Bud Light Seltzer. It's unquestionably good. If you don't love Bud Light, you'll love Bud Light Seltzer. It's not Bud Light, it's hard seltzer. It comes in 4 flavors and tastes great. Bud Light Seltzer. It's unquestionably good. Questions? Call us now.